It is the process, not the product, that is important. According to Montessori, as a curriculum, it emphasizes the process of learning instead of the end product. When we work to teach a young child a new concept, do you often wonder how that information gets processed? Would you say it's better to teach concepts rather than just pure memorization? Montessori is a curriculum that emphasizes the process of learning instead of the focus on the end result. It was pickup time at one of the preschools that I worked at, and I was waiting for the parent in the art center. I was working with a 3-year-old child at the time, and we were cutting and pasting, and this was a project that had several steps. They were choosing the colors they wanted to work with, they were cutting pieces of construction paper, they were then sorting colors using glue, and then using those sorted pieces and putting them into a rainbow arc shape to create a rainbow. So this project is a good project because it addresses many levels and abilities, and considering that no two rainbows would look alike, someone's rainbow would look very different from somebody else's, and so this 3-year-old was just really happy to be able to use scissors. That was something that was kind of off limits, I think, at home, and she was overjoyed to be working with the glue and choosing out her colors, and she was creating this rainbow from scratch. And so I observed her moving forward, and she was finally doing the final steps of putting in these sorted colors into the arc shape as best she could, and then Mom came in, and of course she stopped her project and ran over to her mom and showed her her work, and her mom was pleased and said, "Oh, nice rainbow, good job." Mom validating that what the rainbow looked like in the end. And Mom gave her a hug, and they went home. And then later on, I kind of reflected, and I thought, I should have let Mom know all the things that were going on to lead up to that kind of misshapen rainbow on that piece of paper that might, to just an outsider, look like a bunch of different colors stuck on a piece of paper. But really what that was the process. What did she gain? What did this child learn? What did she experience? And the product was a very simple rainbow on a piece of paper, but the process is where the learning took place, and the process is what will stick with that child. I got to use scissors, I cut pieces of paper, I poked them down with the glue, I used my fingers, I used my hands. The process is what should be emphasized, not the result of the rainbow. So today we will be talking about Montessori, a curriculum that emphasizes the process of learning instead of focusing on the end product. Montessori is an educational method used to teach children ages 0 to 10. Montessori's main points are that they focus on the process of learning instead of the product, and that the curriculum is child-led, and that the environment is a valuable teaching tool used by the teacher and kind of considered a co-teacher as well. And that the teacher assesses and plans individual learning experiences based on each child's ability and interests. So our first point is, again, the main point of Montessori, that it focuses on the process, not the product, just as you heard in my story. In the Montessori classroom, children learn through hands-on experiences, because it is understood that for conceptual learning to take place, one must experience, not memorize. Some examples of how this might look in the classroom under the Montessori method is that numbers are shown in 2 ways. They are written as the regular number written form that we're all familiar with, that we memorize, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But there's also a conceptual form that's available for children. So these are number 1 is a circular bead on a string, 1 bead. Number 2 is 2 circular beads on that same string. Number 3 is 3 circular beads. So a child can feel what the numbers feel like, see that 3 beads are visually more than 1 bead. Those are the concepts that we are exposing children to by showing them numbers in 2 forms. Also, another example of conceptual learning is that experiences and activities are geared towards enhancing a child's observational and sensory skills. So attention to detail is very important, as it is in any process, and so learning is no exception. Learning experiences are organized into processes which involve steps. And we do this so that a child can understand that results take time, and that the process is where the learning takes place and where the joy and the moments of development take place. And so when we plan learning activities, they often have several steps and sometimes can go on for several days before there's a completion. A child learning takes time, you know, and children come away with a sensation that building new skills and developmental skills takes time. Moving on to another focus of the Montessori method that we talked about initially was the curriculum is child-led. Teachers assess their children's interests and abilities. An example of this might be when a teacher sees a child is particularly interested in building in the block center, and so she will put together a learning activity for that child that incorporates building or goes along with that foundational interest that child is showing. Teachers are also aware of sensitive times in their students. This is a Montessori concept that sensitive time is when a child is developmentally ready and their interest is piqued, and so it is the perfect time for the teacher to move in with more challenging activities. These are times when a child is more likely to grasp the ability and then retain the knowledge and develop the new skill. So again, teachers are very aware as to whether their children are going through these sensitive times. Moving on to the final point of Montessori, it's to understand that the environment is an essential teaching tool. In a Montessori classroom, the environment is well organized and offers many challenging and appropriate options for children. Some examples of how a Montessori classroom incorporates these elements are: classrooms are center-based, the materials are accessible, the classroom is neat, tidy, and organized, there are toys made of varying materials, glass, wood, metal, etc., and that the children have free choice. So they may lead their own interests, and they may go to the areas that they're drawn to. The teacher also uses the classroom environment as an assessment tool, like we talked about earlier in creating those individualized lessons for her students. So if she sees a student gravitate towards a certain center more often, then she's going to use that while she's doing her individual plans. A teacher may ask herself, what center does that child gravitate towards? What toys or activities have they mastered? What are they challenged with? These answers will help the teacher maintain a stimulating environment as the toys and activities get changed out and advanced. In conclusion, the Montessori method of early childhood teaching focuses on the process of learning, is child-led, and uses the environment as an additional teaching tool. And now that you understand a little bit about Montessori, you can see the value and the impact of the specific educational method and how it makes a difference on the perception of learning for the child. The Montessori method helps to create a lifelong joy for learning, since it places enjoyment on the process of learning rather than the outcome. Thank you.